everyone. On behalf of TECU Credit Union Nominating Committee, it is my pleasure to welcome each of you to this important session. Today, we gather to undertake one of our core responsibilities, that of informing interested, dedicated, forward-thinking individuals to help guide TECU's mission and contribute to our ongoing legacy of service to our members and committee. Our credit union is built on trust, dedication, and every person in this room plays a vital role in upholding these values. So once again, I'm just going to go over what the Education Committee is all about, and it's officially actually on empowering the members through education. So the Education Committee is a committee that consists of at least 5 members, and these 5 members are appointed by the Board of Directors for a term of 2 years. Additional members are co-opted on the advice of the convener of the Education Committee, and they come on to do special projects that the board might indicate that they would like to be conducted. Members of the Education Committee are at times also members of other committees except the Supervisory Committee. And when the person in the Supervisory Committee comes on to speak, you'll understand why. So there are some duties of the Education Committee. That's the functioning committee of the board. The Education Committee, we disseminate information to members on the products and services offered by the society. We also induct members. So there's normally an induction session, and its induction session is really called WIN at the moment. We also stimulate interest by having activities and events of the society and also of the credit union movement. We do keep members informed of the cooperative philosophy regarding related topics and other related matters of general good to the membership at large. There's also a reporting procedure. So we just don't work in a vacuum. We also report on our activities via an annual report and at times monthly report to the board of directors. So they will understand and see what the Education Committee is doing, and if need be, guide us forward and also add on additional responsibilities. Therefore, we carry out any other duties that may be assigned from time to time by the board. Note that, the next slide, note that via bylaw 56, there's an education fund. And this fund is an allocation that is approved by the board for purpose of educating the general membership. There is the budgetary allocation, and this is administered by the Education Committee for the good of all the members of the Board of Directors, Education Committee, Supervisory Committee, general membership. So understand that this budgetary allocation is for everyone as members of the credit union. We do have activities on an ongoing basis. And as you will see on our slide that's presented, we have member development workshops, which include financial literacy, wills and estate planning, craft and hand skills, ballroom dancing. And if you think that we need to add on a few more to it, please inform us via our email address, and we will so do after consultation. Another activity that's very important, we just held one, it's called the WIN series. It's basically inducting members. When you join the credit union, we would like you to be informed of the activities of what the credit union is all about. And we have that series called WIN. It is welcome, induction, and networking. And we just had our issue number 3 of our quarterly newsletter. We aim to produce 4 newsletters every year. So we just had the hard copy, but if you go online, you'll notice that our newsletters are always online. You can view them there. Read, comment, and do some of the activities. The Education Committee is charged with responsibility of facilitating a secondary assessment award bursary and a tertiary bursary award. This goes well to helping our members and students to help them with their going into secondary school and those going into university. It's an allocation that sort of moved along. At times it's $800, at times it's $1,000 for the C, and basically we are $2,000 or $2,500 to our tertiary recipients to help them to further their education. Noteworthy of the Education Committee is the Children's Christmas Party, where we do help and bring the children out to enjoy a day of fellowship, a day of fun, a day of activities with other members of the community or the children of the community. And they do have a wonderful time, the Children's Christmas Party. And there are school quizzes, essays, etc. Some of the activities that the children partake. Next week, Saturday, we will be having one of our main activities again, All First competition. It's $200 a pair, and make sure that one of your persons involved in that competition is a member of the credit union. It's $200 again. Come and have some fun. So this is a member engagement activity. Fun, relaxation. We need you to attend our seminars, courses, and workshops. They are normally advertised on our social media platform, and we want you to be engaged in these. As a member coming on to one of the committees, we ask you, in case we have the nominating committee and you were not successful in that, we ask that you endeavor to apply to the Education Committee, which is the playground, as we say, to understand what the board is all about and the other committees. This is the section where you have activities again. We ask you to engage yourself, come and join the Education Committee, make a meaningful contribution as a nominee, if you don't get on again, as a volunteer to attend one of our meetings and tell us if you would like to stay on with the Education Committee so you can help the members to gain better understanding of your credit union, TECU Credit Union. And I now pass you on to the next presenter. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Ricardo Albert. I'm presently the branch manager here at the Marbella branch head office. My task is simple but very important. I'm here to introduce to you and to speak to you about TECU's operations, the heartbeat of the credit union. So I've been an employee and a member of TECU for the past 35 years. And I must say that I have all my maturity with regards to was had at my job at TECU. And it's really a pleasure to speak to you about our operations and how it can help you through your financial life. So our core business at TECU are both shares or savings. So you'll hear me using those words interchangeably, because when I say shares, I am also referring to your savings, and loans. So that's our core business. So during my presentation, I'm going to go through those things so you can have a better appreciation of how we operate in the operations department to serve you through your financial life. So of course, your share or / your savings is where you can save at the credit union. Currently, we have paid for the fiscal year 2023 a dividend of 3%. And if you are current with what's happening economically in the country, a 3% dividend rate on your savings is extremely good. In addition to our savings product, our share products, we also have fixed deposits accounts where you can apply for it as a member, different terms, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years. We also have tranches, fixed deposit tranches that come out periodically that give you some higher rates. So keep looking out for those investment opportunities that will come out from time to time, which we will advertise via all our social media sites and your emails that you would have provided with us to us upon joining. The other part of our core business, of course, is our loan products. We have several loan products that have been tailor-made to help you, the member. These loan products would help you, if used properly, to navigate and achieve all of your financial goals. So we can go through just a few of them. We have our character loans. Our character loans, there are several types of those loans that fall within our character loans, but mainly those character loans you can borrow, and the tenure is up to 5 years. We have, in addition to that, our vehicle loans that fall under two categories: new vehicles, which can go up to 8 years, between 0 and 10% security deposit. And the other arm of that is your roll-on, roll-off vehicle loans that interest rate is at 9% and can go for as long as 5%. Now remember, with all our loans, they are on the reducing balance. So this affords you, as you make payments every month, to hit both interest and principal at the same time, which also gives you the opportunity to hit bulk payments, pay extra at any point in time. So therefore, you can pay off your loans before the agreed time agreement and save yourself interest. It is your right to pay off your loans at any time. We have mortgage loans. Currently, they're up to 30 years with a 5% security deposit. These loans, especially our mortgage loans, there are no fees attached to them. So the cost of borrowing at TECU is practically zero. You would just have to see about your valuation and your legal fees, which are regular fees with regards to mortgages and vehicle loans. So the cost of borrowing at TECU is zero. As well as, again, with all loans, and especially your mortgage loans, you can hit lump sum payments at any time, therefore reducing your tenure, the time in which you are to repay your loans, and reduce your interest at the same time. Again, it is your right to pay off your loan at any time, no penalties. We have our debt consolidation loan. We all can appreciate what would have happened over the COVID period with loss of income, loss of jobs. People would have been forced to go and borrow at different institutions just to keep their financial life going. And this borrowing that would have happened over time at different institutions with different rates would put people at a very disadvantaged situation. So you have an opportunity to come to your credit union, consolidate all those loans under one financial body, under one interest rate, therefore giving yourself a return on your disposable income and bringing your financial life back into order. These debt consolidation loans can be done up to 10 years with a 15% security deposit. That's 15% of the amount that you are borrowing, and that would bring all your loans under one house, one financial house, one interest rate, and start bringing your financial life back in order. We have a fabulous product called our Borrow, Save, Grow, which we affectionately call it as our BSG. This loan is up to 5 years. This loan allows you to borrow to save. The conventional way of saving can be a bit tedious, and you really have to commit and be dedicated to saving every month a percentage of your salary, and that can take some time. So we have developed this product that speeds up your saving, where you can borrow, put it on your TECU shares or savings account, and then repay the loan. And at the same time, that fund which you have borrowed and put placed on your savings account would be accruing dividends. So your money is actually making some children for you while you are paying back the loan. So this is a fabulous way of saving, as well as getting your funds that are necessary to purchase your home, because when you do a mortgage, you need your security deposit. When you're purchasing your vehicle, you need your security deposit. And this is a fabulous product that can get you onto that saving journey to achieve those goals. We have an unsecured loan as well. All you need to apply for this loan and to show interest is a share deposit of $2,500. This loan, we can lend you up to $100,000, of course, with proper assessment, and that shows that you are able to afford and repay this loan. So you can ask about this unsecured loan and see if this can also help you with the things that you want to do with regards to your financial life. We have our education loan as well. For those of us who would want to pursue your education, we have this loan that we can lend you up to $150,000. It can go for 7 years. There are 3 tiers to this loan, where if you are borrowing to study and you have not been yet employed, this loan will give you the freedom or the space with regards to not paying your loan installment until after you have finished your education, plus an extra 6 months that gives you some time to get your job, and then the loan starts, the installments on the loan starts. Or there's a second tier where upon making request for the education loan and it has been approved, you can just pay the interest on the loan, or as well, you can start making the payments immediately if you are already employed, and start hitting your interest and your principal. So there are more loans, but these are just some of the more important loans that can help you through your financial life. So please call the office, call the operations department, get onto one of our loan officers, and see which one of these loans you can use with regards to where you stand currently in your financial life. Some of the benefits of financing with TECU, and there are many. All our loans are insured free of charge up to $150,000. This is a cost that is borne by your credit union, not paid by you, and upon applying for your loans up to a ceiling of $150,000, free insurance. Again, there are no processing or closing fees at TECU Credit Union. The cost of borrowing is zero. So when you are shopping around for your loans, please do not only look at the interest rate that is being offered. Look at the entire loan portfolio that each institution is offering you, and look at it holistically, because there are other parts to lending and borrowing that can affect your installment or the overall loan. So one of the things are processing and closing fees, the cost of borrowing. Of course, we have competitive rates, and our rates are practically fixed when you are locked into the loan for the period of time. So that's a very important factor for you to pay attention to when you're making your decision. Shares held as security for your loans, and I spoke about that previously. So you have, as for example, your 5% security deposit on your mortgages, between your 0 and 10% on your new vehicle loans, your 15% security on your debt consolidation loans. These shares that are held as security accrue dividends for the period of the time that the loan goes for. So you are borrowing, yes, from your institution, which pumps back profits to the credit union, which therefore pays dividends on your shares. Very, very important, because you are a member, owner, shareholder. You are not a customer at the credit union. Great returns on your savings and fixed deposits. So that really is in line with the shares that are being held as your security, and the dividends that accrue on it. So it's one and the same. No early repayment fees or bulk payment fees. Remember, I spoke about that earlier. It is your right to pay off your loan at any time. No penalties for doing such. You don't even have to give us advance notice like other places. You hit bulk payments, you win the lotto, you can pay off your loans immediately. We would have spoken about, Jackie would have mentioned our SCN Tertiary Bursary Awards. Yes, so as a member and your children can be afforded these bursary awards. Bring up your children in the credit union culture. Let them understand credit unionism, what it is to borrow and save in their own organization, because this place belongs to you. We have our Guardian Life Savings coverage as well. So this is in tandem with our insurance on your loans. You remember that $150,000 that is free of charge, that TECU bonds. We have also a life savings coverage on your shares or your savings. So your savings are insured free of charge up to a ceiling of $60,000. God forbid you die, your beneficiary who you would have nominated upon joining would receive double your shares up to a ceiling of 60,000. So I want to put those two insurances together and give you an insight on how it looks. If you have a loan of $100,000 and you have shares up to $50,000, God forbid you, the member, die, your loan dies with you. So your beneficiary doesn't inherit any installments to pay on your loans. And that $50,000 in savings is doubled, and your beneficiary will collect $100,000 free insurance borne by the credit union. Now remember, the doubling of your shares is up to a ceiling of 60,000. The ceiling on the insurance on your loans is up to 150,000. So let's say your loans are in excess of 150. TECU would take care of the first 150, and of course you would have had to provide life insurance for the difference. And if you had $70,000 in savings, we would double up to the 60, which is $120,000 upon your debt, plus the extra 10. So in this example, your beneficiary would collect $130,000 upon debt, because the doubling of the ceiling is up on the savings is up to a ceiling of 60 plus whatever extra is on the shares. Yes? Great information and benefits at TECU Credit Union. We are not only about savings and loans. We have to have our digital solution to help you navigate financial life here at TECU effectively and efficiently. So at TECU, we have our TECU e-services, where you can go online and apply for the host of products and services that TECU have to offer. We have our TECU e-services mobile app as well. So please ensure that when you join TECU, you sign up for these services, because it will help you navigate the credit union without coming into long lines every day. And believe me, the lines can be very long. We have our LinkU Active Card debit card. This is a debit card, not a credit card. So this is a debit card. You load funds onto your card, and whatever loan, that's what you have available to spend. It's in collaboration with FCB. So it's on their MasterCard ban, and it affords you all the protective services that goes with a MasterCard. You can shop online with those cards and use it abroad as well. So please ask about your LinkU Active Card when you are joining TECU. If you have already joined, inquire about it. This card also as well, when you borrow, you can then load those funds onto your card, and you can effectively have a credit card, even though it's a debit card, because you are loading it with funds that accrue interest less than that 25% interest rate on a credit card. So inquire about it and use this to your advantage. Of course, with the technology, Instead of coming into our organization to make applications for loans or appointments, you can do such online as well and save yourself time and money coming into the credit union and facing those long lines. We are about fun as well. Your credit union has a fabulous guest house in Tobago, TECU Coral Reef. So please call us. This is an option for your vacation, and all TECU members are eligible for a 10% discount. We are smack in the middle in Tobago between Scarborough and Crown Point at Lowlands, just opposite Gulf City Mall. On the left-hand side if you are going towards Crown Point. So please inquire about our fabulous guest house that you can use for vacation, for a vacation spot. We are also about insurances. You cannot speak to your financial life without insurance products. So we are very proud of our TECU Insurance Services Limited. Please inquire of it. And under our TECU Insurance brand, we have a host of insurances, inclusive of our TECU members health plan. Guys, we have a health plan for you that's part of a group plan. So because it's part of a group plan, our premiums are very, very affordable. It's the best premiums on the market because it's under one large group. So you can have those insurances that takes care of your glasses needs, your dentistry needs, and all of your medical needs. This is a very important product for your financial life. We have our family indemnity plan. Yes, we don't like to speak about that, but it is part of life. And I always say to people, if you really truly love the people that you claim to love, you would take care of the cost of your debt. No one should have to bear that cost. And TECU Credit Union helps you by offering you this family indemnity plan, which can insure up to 6 members of your immediate family, inclusive of yourself. So please inquire of it because there are about 7 plans that you can inquire of, and it's very affordable, and you can choose the one that fits your pocket. We have also a family critical illness plan, which also tag teams with the other insurances. So please inquire of it. We have our advanced protector. So you would have heard me speak about the extra insurance on your loans in excess of $150,000. So normally we would ask you if you have life insurance to insure the difference. And those of us who don't have life insurance, TECU provides that advanced protector, a term insurance on the loan, which can insure the difference at monthly premiums that are very affordable. So it's a product that can offset your insurance on your loans if you don't have life insurance. We spoke about our life savings, the insurance on the life savings, the doubling of that $60,000 upon death. So I wouldn't go through that too much again. We have our residential insurances as well that you can get through our TECU Insurance Solutions Limited. So you can insure your home and all of its contents. Folks, this is very, very important. We always don't gamble with the most costly thing that you would have purchased, which is house and contents. Please insure it because you don't know when life is going to happen, and those things that we think that will never happen to us can happen. So please insure your home and contents. You can also get your motor vehicle insurance under TECU insurances. Both your residential and motor vehicle insurance are done through Guardian Insurance, and it's one of the premier insurances in the land. They pay their claims. We have also our liability insurances, our commercial insurances, and marine insurances that can be borne and had through TISL. And next, I would like to now pass you on to our next presenter, Mrs. Lucy Utley.
Hi, thank you very much, Ricardo, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. Let me start by saying a few words about my own background as it relates to TECU. As Ricardo just pointed out, I have been a volunteer for many, many years, going way back as 1976. I served on the Education Committee for quite a number of years. Then I went to the Credit Committee. I served on the Supervisory Committee. I also served as a Board of Director on the Board of TECU. So I really love volunteering, and this is why I am very, very happy to speak to you people who are indicating that you perhaps would like to become a volunteer and serve on one of our committees. So you are invited to attend this volunteer empowerment session so that you can be better informed and you can be better prepared when you decide to offer your services as a volunteer at TECU Credit Union. So volunteering matters. Next.
So those people would have read it.
So let us set the context. Now here is a bit of information that I want to give you so that it will give you a wider scope of what is expected when you become one of TECU's volunteers on any one of the statutory committees. We have 3 committees that are referred to as the statutory committees. It's the Board of Directors, the Supervisory Committee, and the Credit Committee. But first of all, I think it is instructive to note that the credit union movement started with volunteers. And this movement was established in Germany in the 1850s. 1850s. Members volunteered their time to set up and to manage these not-for-profit financial institutions with the communities around them. It is therefore true to say that without the tireless work of its volunteers, credit unions would not have been able to grow. And that's people like you who we are inviting to come and serve. Credit unions, please be reminded, are not-for-profit financial cooperatives. They are designed to take care of the unserved and the underserved populations. There are many people around who are unserved and underserved, and this is where the credit union comes in. Credit unions were formed to protect the populations who had to rely on risky, expensive, and informal financial services such as money lenders. And I don't want any one of you to get caught up in what is being offered today by some of these same people, including a very big organization whose name, of course, I am not allowed to call. But people go, they borrow money from them, and then they come back to TECU to ask for us to bail them out. So they take a loan with us after they took a loan with them. So it is because of the credit union that populations gain protection against these unscrupulous money lenders of the time, and they are still around. Today, there are more than 86,000 credit unions in 118 countries around the world. This means that approximately 375 million people have access to affordable financial services. This also means that you would be joining hundreds of volunteers worldwide. So it's not just in Trinidad, it's all over the world. Remember, it started in Germany. In Trinidad and Tobago, there are 129 credit unions serving approximately 753,000 members. So can we go to the next slide? Okay, at this point I want us to look at the words volunteerism and volunteer. What is volunteerism and why is it important? Volunteerism is the act of contributing free labor, to conduct community service, or to support a non-profit organization. It is the principle of donating your time and your energy towards a greater cause. Now, on the other hand, volunteering means to do something for other people or for an organization willingly. Willingly. That means without being forced or without being paid to do it. Your main resource as a volunteer is your time. Now, I want to tell you that as volunteers, the V means that your work is valuable. The work that you do is valuable. The O in volunteers means it is outstanding that you have come. It is outstanding how you always come through. You always come through as a very outstanding individual. The L in volunteer says that you are loyal, you're sincere, and you're full of good cheer. The U in volunteer means you are untiring in your efforts throughout the year. The N, notable are the contributions you make. We do not take your contributions for granted. It's notable. The T says you're trustworthy in every project you undertake. So when you accept to be on one of these committees, we expect that you would be a trustworthy person. The E says you're eager to reach your every goal. So you're not just coming in, okay, people say it's good to come on these committees. You have to be eager to reach every goal that is set before you. The other E is effective in the way you fulfill your role. If you're doing something, we want it to be effective. The R says you're ready with a smile, like a shining star. And the S is special and wonderful. That's what you are. So as a volunteer, I want you to know that you'll be special and you'll be a wonderful person to us. Food for thought. So we go to the next slide. So I want to pose a question to each of you. If you were asked to use one word to describe yourself, what word would that be? Think. You are describing yourself using one word. Perhaps you may be able to identify more than one word. So I would like you to hold that word or those words in your thoughts, and we will return to them later. Let us think of what type of person makes a good volunteer. Words that really come to mind. And we can go to the next slide. Words that really come to mind are passionate, reliable. You're a team player. You're an energetic person. You're willing to help. You're compassionate. And you're organized. So what can you offer? There are also specific skills which will enhance your contribution as a volunteer. So it helps if you have the skill as a leader, as a problem solver, that you're good at organizing and planning. You can communicate well, so your communication and interpersonal skills are really good. You're good at building relationship. Most important, team building is also part of it. There is no I in team, as everybody knows. Teamwork is what is important. Time management. It is sad to say that in Trinidad, people do not manage their time effectively. If you are offering yourself to serve as a volunteer on TECU, on any of TECU's statutory committees, you have to be punctual. So time management is important. And whatever you put your hand to do and agree to do, it must be done with a certain level of professionalism. So what then is expected of you as a volunteer? You're, of course, expected to use the skills that we just spoke about to enhance your performance. So what is your responsibility? You have to commit yourself to attend both scheduled meetings and educational programs which are offered by the credit union. When you become a member of one of these statutory committees, your meetings are scheduled for a certain time. You are expected to be on time. You're also expected that, okay, something happens today and I'm unable to come. You don't just be absent, but you inform the chairperson, you inform whoever is in charge, and you say, I'm sorry, but I cannot make it today. You also need to familiarize yourself with the products and the services that TECU offers its members. You may have heard Ms. Newton in the beginning say that there are lots of products and services that are offered. You need to familiarize yourself with that. Also, Mr. Ricardo Albert spoke about all the products and services that we offer. You need to respect and observe confidentiality and privacy. When you become a member of one of these committees, you are exposed to a lot of information which is confidential. And we do not expect that as an officer on one of these committees that you will go and speak people's business. So confidentiality is very important. So you're acting as an ambassador, a person who represents or who speaks for or who advertises a particular organization or group of people for TECU Credit Union. You also have to be mindful of the credit union's good name and reputation. We have a good name. We have a reputation which we want to keep. I spoke about you being punctual and reliable, being accountable, and I also said to give notice if your unavailability changes. If you're not able to attend, please say you can't. The thing that is of most importance as a volunteer is your enthusiasm for the credit union spirit of people helping people. So an important alert. It is important to note that there is no compensation given. Therefore, the literal meaning of volunteer. However, in recent times, the credit union decided to give what is called a stipend to these people who are on the statutory committees. So, example, if you're on the board of directors, if you're serving on the supervisory committee, and if you're serving on the credit committee, you are given a monthly stipend. That is just, things are getting harder and harder. It's more difficult for people to come to the credit union or to do things. You have to go different places for the credit union. So this stipend is given to you. But it is still called a voluntary program because your service is really free. So we look at the word cloud, where I had asked you to keep a word in your mind that represents you, and you can look at it now and see whether you're an organized person, whether you're caring, whether you're flexible, whether you're faithful, whether you're energetic. All of those words can probably relate to what you were thinking of. So we go on now to the next slide. You are volunteering, you're giving. Okay, we go on again. Are you ready to volunteer? Before I go deeper into that, I want to ask a question. Of course, you will keep the answer in your mind. The election process at the AGMs, that is where the election of officers will take place. Even though you're offering yourself, the AGM, the annual general meeting, the members there have got to vote for you. So first of all, have you ever attended an AGM? It's important that you do. If yes, How many have you really attended? In which year did you attend the last one? Were you there last year? The election or re-election of the supervisory committee members, the board of directors, and the credit committee members is held each year at the annual general meeting. So that is where you will be offering yourself a service and you will have a chance of acceptance by the membership. So even though the nominating committee may select you, you still have got to face the annual general meeting. So it will be good that you would have attended one in the past and you are aware of what obtains. The process to becoming a volunteer on one of the committees is as follows. You first have to attend a volunteer empowerment session organized by TECU, which is what you're doing now. You have to check the notices which are published in the daily newspapers. There are application packages which you will be asked to collect at any one of our 3 branches, Marabella, Couva, or Point Fortin. And you have to spend time to read and carefully complete the application package. This is for your benefit. Take time to read through the package. Then completed packages must reach the credit union on or before the deadline date and the time. There will be a date and time given to you by which those packages have to be sent to the credit union. Then applicants will be contacted and given an interview date and an interview time. Each applicant will be interviewed by the nominating committee, and all successful applicants will be informed. If desired, members can nominate persons from the floor. That is still part of what TECU does. So at the AGM, if there are more officers that we need to serve, we didn't have enough, then we open the floor and people can nominate members from the floor on the day of the AGM. So ladies and gentlemen, as I draw the curtain on this presentation, I want to pose a few questions to you. Do you prefer to work alone? Or are you interested in working as part of a team? Are you better behind the scenes, or do you prefer to take a more visible role? How much time are you willing to commit? This is very, very important. You have to have sufficient time that you will commit to serve on these committees, because serving on the committees is not just the day of the meeting. Serving on the committees can cause you to have to do things on other days which would not be your meeting day. So that's very, very important. So I want you to think carefully about why you want to volunteer. And I would leave you with the words of David Brooks, who writes in his book. His book is called The Second Mountain, and these are his words. There is something inside us that longs for some calling that requires dedication and sacrifice. And also, there is an American author who says, having influence is not about elevating self, but about lifting others. So if you are part of any of these committees, it's not about elevating yourself. You are there to really lift the others. So I want to thank each of you for attending today's session, for listening to my presentation, and I wish the best of luck to you as you move forward. Our next speaker will be speaking on the responsibilities of the Board of Directors, and that is Mr. Kent Bayer. And I now pass it over to Mr. Bayer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation is entitled The Role and Responsibility of the Board of Directors. You would find a lot of similarities between what Lucy did and what I did, what I am going to do, because what she talked about a lot are the characteristics of members of the committees. And those characteristics also apply to the board of directors. So let me move on. What is a credit union board? First of all, a credit union is a non-profit, guided and governed by a board of directors. And the board of directors is a group of volunteers, and remember, Lucy talked about that, elected to serve members' interests. They focus on developing financial systems, financial and administrative systems, and enforcing policies to enhance their members' economic well-being. So basically, it's a group of volunteers that are elected by the members annually to serve the members. They're volunteers, they're elected annually, and their purpose is to serve, and by serving, enriching the members' life. That is primarily the board of directors' function, to enrich and empower the members' life. Election of the board of directors. They're elected annually. In fact, every year, 1/3 of the board is replaced, and that is to ensure continuity. So at the annual general meeting, 4 board members go out, 4 new ones come in. However, members are elected for a term of 3 years. So even though you're going out, if your term, you're elected for a term of 3 years, and you're elected for a maximum of 3 terms before you're allowed to come off the board, having been declared statute barred. So at the end of your first term, you may get re-elected. So yes, board members are elected annually for a term of 3 years. So the board, when you are elected this year, there are some members who would have to come off the following year, and the other branch in the 3rd year. Vacancies on the board. At the election of the board, they appoint also alternates. So you are having 4 members coming onto the board. They also try to get additional board members who will serve as alternates. So in the event that you have to replace a board member, one of the alternates replaces that board member. Where you don't have alternates, the board of directors convene a special AGM where the board member who was left is replaced. Okay, the board consists of a president, a vice president, secretary, a treasurer. Those are termed the executive. And then you have other directors. The president's primary function is to represent the board, a spokesman for the board and the organization, and he works in collaboration with the CEO to formulate strategies and plan for the sustainability of the organization. So as I said, his role is primarily servicing the members and ensuring the sustainability of the organization. The vice president acts in the absence of the president, in addition to other duties which may be assigned to him. The secretary is responsible for the documentation of the activities of the credit union. The treasurer is responsible for the financial representation of the credit union, preparing the annual general financials, preparing whatever it is, and to ensure the financial stability of the organization. The other directors are there to serve the organization and serve it in different capacities. One of the things that are done is the formation of several committees. You have an investment committee, you have an IT committee, you have a HR committee, and the other directors, by and large, serve not on, they are selected to serve on these committees. So as Lucy said, even though you have board members, you attend board meetings, you also have to attend committee meetings. And just in my case, when I was on the board, I was part of the board, I was part of the HR committee, I was part of the IT committee, I was part of at least I served on 5 committees. That means 5 days for the week, or several times for the week, you had to be attending meetings. You had to give up your family life. And the question is, people have to be committed to do those things, because a lot you have to sacrifice. But when you are, as I think is General Housley once said, the heart of a volunteer is a wonderful thing. And when you're in the spirit of volunteerism, there is no bounds to what you can do. So yes, so these are the members of the board. There is the board's responsibility. The board is responsible for the annual general meeting. They are also responsible for the special general meetings. The annual general meeting is something that is required by law, where you prepare annual reports, part of which we talk reporting to the authorities. You have to report to the Commissioner of Cooperatives your activities for the year, your financial statements, what the main items, activities that you did for the year has to be reported to the Commissioner of Cooperative. And this must be done by April of the next year. So one of the responsibilities, as I said, is the annual general meeting. Special general meetings are called for specific items. You may want to amend your bylaws. You may have a special activity that the board is undertaking, or the organization is undertaking, and the board may need to get approval from the membership. So that's where you have your special general meetings. Board meetings. Board meetings are held, in TECU's case, they're held monthly, where you discuss where you manage the strategy of the organization, you manage your measurements, your key performance indicators. You look at them, you see how the credit union is performing in comparison to what you had anticipated at the beginning of the year, and you make the corrections necessary. This is where you report on major projects. One of the things that, as an ex-board member, I think people need to understand that we are all there to serve the organization. Whatever is said in the boardroom remains in the boardroom. We may have differences in the boardroom. In fact, there are lots of cases there are differences. If those differences stop at the door, when you go out the organization, once the board has made a decision, that decision becomes a collective decision, in spite of the fact you may have voted against it. Once it is a board decision, you have to support that decision, even though you have voted against it. And that is important. You don't go outside now and you say, you see, they do that, and I'm not for that. That is wrong. That is unethical. So the behavior of a member of the board is important. It is critical. Now, failure to attend board meetings. If you fail to attend up to 3 board meetings without advising the board, you would have deemed to vacate your position. And the board may then replace you on the board. So you decide you're not coming, and this is 3 consecutive board meetings. You may have decided for whatever reason you are not coming to the board meeting 3 consecutive times. The board will then write you and tell you that, inform you that because of your absence without information, we have declared your seat vacant and replace either from an alternate, or if there are no alternates, have a special meeting to replace your position. Duties and responsibilities further, making strategic decisions. And that says that you would have developed, the board's primary function is to develop a strategic plan. Having a strategic plan, having a budget, those things are critical to the board and the organization's sustainability. So then with that, you now make strategic decisions in support of that strategic plan, in support of that budget. Then you develop one of the key functions. The board is not running the organization. The board has one employee, and that employee is the CEO. They may allow the CEO to employ other persons to support his activities. In so doing, you now have to have policies on how the organization must run. And that is a critical function of the board, to ensure that policies are developed and ensure that the policies are followed. So developing and implementing policies is critical. As I said, the board is there primarily in support of the members of the organization, empowering the members. So everything that the board do is about the membership of the organization, enhancing the members' engagement. How do you make his engagement in the organization the best it can be? And that is the main functions of the board. Hiring and overseeing the CEO. I said the board has one employee, and that one employee is the CEO. The board is responsible for hiring and overseeing the CEO to make sure that his functions or his activities are in support of the board's decisions. The board acts as the financial controller for the organization. That is, ensure that the targets established in the budget are met. If they are not met, taking corrective actions to ensure that they are met. Lastly, the board is responsible for appointing board committees, and there are several board committees. I mentioned some of them earlier. Let me distinguish between board committees and statutory committees. Statutory committees are elected at the AGM by the membership. Board committees are committees appointed by the board. So the board in its own right can appoint committees. Now, just to mention to you, in the amended legislation which is coming down, there are going to be more statutory committees. One of the things they say, audit and compliance is going to be a statutory committee. In fact, when later on we could talk some more about that, but there are going to be some more statutory committees. Now, the other thing that is not mentioned here, there are new laws that have been passed in the FIU Act. So there are other pieces of legislation that impact on the credit union's operations, where committees will have to be formed in support of those pieces of legislation. Key qualifications, and Lucy talked about this, the whole question of governance, the whole question of communication, and communication is important, it's critical. Your management skills, because you meet as a board member, you meet all sorts of people. You need to be able to manage that interaction with people. Financial literacy. You have to be able to read a balance sheet, read an income and expense. If you can't, the credit union has to provide you or assist you, equip you in getting those skills to be able to do it, because that's the only way the organization will run properly. And that is all right. That is what the education committee does. So if you remember, all of you, all board members are elected by the membership. Nobody acquires their position on the board. They're elected by the membership. And if the membership elect you and you don't have that skills, then the credit union has a responsibility to provide you with those skills to make sure that you could perform your function as effective as possible. So don't be worried. In conclusion, and I thought I should state this. In conclusion, the ideal credit union board encompasses a diverse group of individuals who bring a wide range of skill sets, experiences, and values to the table. Having a dynamic mix, embracing these qualities, ensure that the credit union represents the best interests of members. A strong, passionate board can guide it going forward in a positive and successful manner and make a difference in the lives of its members and the community it serves. I just thought I saw that and I just thought it was important that so it's not that we come to the board meeting and everybody's saying the same thing. In fact, I want to impart to those people who get on the board, express your views, express your opinion. And there are times when you need to be passionate about it. But if there are things which causes you to think differently, to change your opinion, don't be afraid to change. That's what it's all about. New information comes to the table. You see things differently. Don't hold on to your position as though it casts in concrete. To be flexible, because that is what the team is about. You come with your experiences, whatever it is, and somebody throws out a different idea. Don't be afraid to change and don't be embarrassed if you change. That is what it's all about. Now, I just thought I would mention to you the essential characteristics of a cooperative. It is a democratic organization engaged in the marketplace and providing goods and services. It is nevertheless based on people, and this is what I wanted to say, not on capital or government directions. In its essence, it can never escape, even if it wanted to, the capacity of members to exercise control whenever they wish to so do. So what this is telling you, at the end of the day, the members own the organization, not the board. And when I will give a few reading things to you. When you look at the reading, the membership, 50 members right now can force the Commissioner of Cooperatives to call a special board meeting and conduct that board meeting. So really and truly, what I'm trying to tell you is this is a members organization. The board is representing the members to ensure that the members' wishes, the members' goals, and things are satisfied. That is what it's all about. And lastly, necessary readings. The Cooperative Society Act, 1971, Chapter 8103, and TECU Credit Unions bylaws. Those things are important once you want to get on the statutory committees.
All right. Good morning again. My name is Guyton Otley, and I currently operate as the chairperson for the supervisory committee. I first want to start by congratulating all of you all for attending this morning's session. I think it's very progressive of you all, because sometimes persons volunteer for committees and they're not really sure what the committees do or how they operate. So I really want to congratulate all of you all present here this morning for showing the interest in volunteerism. Now, I will start by talking about the supervisory committee and what we actually do, and then I will go on to outlining the presentation. So what we do as the supervisory committee, we actually look at the credit union on a whole and try to ensure as much as possible that it is operating the way it is supposed or intended to operate. And that is by being guided by the policies, procedures, legislation, and looking at those things and matching it against how the credit union actually operates. So in essence, we act as auditors for the organization. And what we generally do is at the beginning of our term, we look at areas that we will select to investigate. And we do that by asking questions, looking at policies or procedures that exist, and matching it against what is currently being done by the different departments in the organization. And where there are discrepancies, we will seek explanations as to why those discrepancies exist. Now, sometimes there are very plausible reasons why. For example, the policies could have changed, and the version we got was an older version, and they will send us the updated version. Or sometimes that their procedures had to change because of other changes in the external environment, but the credit union, in terms of documenting those changes, was a little behind. So sometimes there could be plausible reasons why there are not matches. Of course, when there's a discrepancy, we seek further information and probably guide the credit union back into aligning their operations with what the requirements are. Sometimes that investigation process can take quite a while because the more questions you ask, sometimes the more questions you have. So it takes us a little while, but that in a nutshell is the process under which we operate as the supervisory committee. So I will go on to the requirements and sorry, and what I will present. I will speak about our existence from a regulatory and statutory standpoint, where we get the existence as a statutory committee from the Corporate Societies Act, as well as the amended bylaws of TECU. And then I will speak about what powers the supervisory committee gets, and those powers will be identified in our bylaws, and then just guide you in terms of some skills that can be beneficial when you are a member of the supervisory committee. The supervisory committee, yes, is established in the Corporate Societies Act in section 50 of the Act, subsection 3, and specific to C and D. But it is very simple in that it just says that once you are a credit union, in your bylaws, you need to state the following. And this is where the supervisory committee gets its power from the Corporate Societies Act, is saying that in addition to a credit union having a board, the two other committees that must be elected at the AGM, the annual general meeting, should be your credit committee as well as a supervisory committee. And they go on to state that if you are a member of the supervisory committee, you are not also eligible to serve on the board or the credit committee. So you must be focused on one committee, and you cannot be a board member and also serve on the other committees, etc. Now, that is the extent to which the supervisory committee gets its powers from the Corporate Societies Act. So based on that, TECU now has incorporated the role of the supervisory committee in its bylaws, and it has identified that the supervisory committee should consist of at least 3 members, and those members should be elected at the AGM. And as a member of the supervisory committee, you're not allowed to serve for more than 6 consecutive years. Oftentimes, a credit union can change or update its bylaws, but this is what currently exists. The practice has been to allow 5 persons onto the supervisory committee. If you are a member of the supervisory committee, again, the bylaws just reaffirms what the Corporate Society Act has stated in terms of serving on other committees. And it also goes on to say that if during the term of its existence and there's becomes a vacancy, somebody may decide that they can't volunteer again, or they realize that it's a little overwhelming for them and they had to drop out of the committee, then that vacancy will be filled by the alternate. Now, the alternate is derived by the person or persons who were not the first 5 members of the supervisory committee who received the highest number of votes at the AGM. And they will then be alternate. So an alternate can still serve on the committee if someone from the committee drops off. When we have our committee meetings, in order for the meetings to be valid, recorded meetings, we must have at least 3 members present at the meeting. Now, the bylaws of TECU also gives us some powers, and we're looking at what powers do we have as a supervisory committee. Now, the bylaws said that examining the affairs of the society, when you see society, they are referring to the credit union, that it at least twice a year, we should look at the affairs. Now, every supervisory committee can determine how regularly we meet. We generally meet on a weekly basis. And of course, depending on the amount of information or the areas that we are investigating, we may have a lot of information to review. It may take us 2 weeks before we could come to another meeting, but generally we meet on a weekly basis. So we are really looking at the affairs, and it lists some areas, among other things, to be the securities, cash loans, applications, approvals, and many other areas that we look into as well. So that is where we get the power to investigate and ask questions on those areas. We are also supposed to present our report to the membership at the end of our period, so that you all can have an idea, members can have an idea what areas we investigated during the year. And the report is always made public, and you all can access all those reports on TECU's website as well. Now, the power is also given to us in terms of if we believe as a committee that some officer or any member of a committee acted in any kind of egregious way, we can call a special annual general meeting, or we could suspend that officer or that member for a period of time. And that suspension will have to either be upheld or that the person could be reinstated at the AGM. But that is the power to which the supervisory committee has. Now, in order for that suspension to be upheld, everyone on the supervisory committee must vote for that to happen. And generally, it will have been based on things that were revealed in our investigations that were required for that to happen. So I have not seen instances of that during my tenure. And so it just, nor have I heard of that in the recent past in TECU. So it just really says that we have been conducting our operations in quite an effective and efficient manner. So that was not required, but it's a power that the supervisory committee has. If we have to call that meeting, that special annual general meeting, we have to present the conditions under which the requirements for that meeting were held and explain to the membership why that meeting needed to take place. Additionally, some person or a member of our committee needs to review the annual general meeting. So it is always beneficial to have a good idea of a good understanding of the financial operations and the financial statements, because we are required on an annual basis to make a comment on the financial statements that will be submitted to the membership, and we're supposed to make that comment prior to the AGM. So we have to review the financial statements and make our comments on it. And just to look at the last section, some skill sets that you could consider, whether you have any of these existing, that you feel you could be part of the supervisory committee, you would be more than welcome. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, and it doesn't mean that you have to be proficient in all of these, but it means that if you have these skill sets, it would add value to you operating on the supervisory committee, as a matter of fact, to many of the other committees. So the first one is commitment. That was spoken to a lot with the other presenters. It's really volunteering your time and your effort and your knowledge and be committed to the committee so that the other members can benefit from your expertise and your time and your involvement in the process. So commitment is top of the list. Time management. This was mentioned before as well. And sometimes if in your current life, things are very hectic and you find it difficult even balancing your time, when you volunteer for a committee and even with the supervisory committee, it is essential that you manage your time well, because sometimes you will be required to give up some of your personal time in order to get things done for the committee. Investigative skills are really important, and it is because we investigate areas. Probative skills, asking questions, I'll talk about the question in mind as well in a little bit, but having the ability to know what to look for and to make connections amongst different variables will be very useful on this type of committee. Essentially, like I said earlier, because we are essentially operating as auditors. Pay attention to details. There's a term they say this, the devil is in the details. When you get information, it is prudent that you read things carefully, you pay attention to what is said, sometimes even the fine print. There are instances where we get a large document, a very lengthy document, and the details in it sometimes can be very important because they could open up another world of information that you may have missed if you did not pay attention to it. As well as it saves time, because sometimes you may be asking questions that were answered, but because you missed it in the details, you asked the question, but it was already provided to you. But so our attention to details would be very important. And like I said, the question in mind, which was linked to investigative skills, question things, not because you've received information, you take it as, okay, that is what is, but ask a question, probe a little more, because sometimes behind that, if you didn't ask a question, you would not get the relevant information. So continue to ask questions whenever we are investigating or probing matters. Logical thinking. Sometimes you need to make connections with information provided from one department to another, because it's sometimes when you make those links, then things make sense. And sometimes if you fail to make that link, it continues to operate in a silo, even in your mind. So it is important to have logical thinking. Let's get the evidence that's provided so that the evidence would lead to some outcome or result. And good communication skills. Of course, that would be an asset if you're a member on any team or any committee, so that you can communicate effectively with one another. And additionally, when we have to write a report or write requesting information, that we are very clear in our written communication as well. And also because we have to submit a report to the membership at the end of the period, that report is also clearly communicating based on the information we are providing there. So good communication skills would be very essential and beneficial. And the effective writing skills, because we have to write reports, we have to write requests and information, and that kind of communication should be very clear, especially as a member of the supervisory committee. Persistence. I mean, with every committee, that goes without saying. Sometimes you may feel inundated. Sometimes you may just have to lean on other members of your committee. And at times when you volunteer, it's not that you're there alone, but you find that there's a lot of camaraderie in these committees, and persons may have to pull you at times when you may feel that, it's a little overwhelming. It's not just that your default position should be to give up, but just persevere. And we are doing this because we want our credit union to continue to be strong and vibrant. And the last part of it is really understanding the credit union's operations. Now, it is not so much a requirement that you need to have before joining the committee, because a lot will be revealed as you get more familiar as a member of the supervisory committee with the operations. And currently, the environment that we are operating in at TECU, as members, you would realize that there's a lot of innovation and change going on in our credit union. There's a lot of acceptance in terms of the technology that is available out there. And that's the direction that the credit union will be going in. And therefore, it has positively affected the way the credit union operates. So while an understanding of the credit union and how it operates can be beneficial, you will be operating in a changing environment as well. And if you ever have a curious mind, it is a very refreshing environment to operate under, because you're looking and overseeing these changes and asking questions as to how can this benefit our credit union and the membership. So what I did, just to review, is I told you essentially first in my preface of my presentation that how the supervisory committee actually operates. And then I went to say how our existence came about by guiding you all to the statutory documents that were provided, being the Cooperative Societies Act and the amended bylaws. Then I showed you the powers that we got as a supervisory committee from our bylaws. And then I ended with some of the skill sets that can be useful as a member of the supervisory committee. So I just want to encourage as many of you that may be interested in serving on one of these committees to present yourself to the nominating committee when that time arises. So thank you for giving me some of your time on this Saturday morning. And this is the end of my presentation, and I will now hand you over to Mr. Mervyn Batiste, who operates as the chairperson for the credit committee.
And thank you, Mr. Otley. Good morning to all attendees, and I now have the opportunity to share with you all a little insight where the credit committee is concerned and the responsibilities that comes with being an officer of the credit committee. Before I get in totally to the presentation, one of the things I would like to make reference to give somewhat clarity and connection of the credit committee. Mr. Albert shared with us in his presentation all the different types of loans that TECU Credit Union offers to its membership. And of these particular loans, what happens where the credit committee is concerned, we are actually given an opportunity not only to review, but to actually sit and evaluate on other loans that cannot be approved with the loans officers. It's beyond the loans officers' approval. And we sit, we discuss, we determine if these loans should be approved and what conditions, if any, that must be applicable in the approval of these loans. So with that being said, I know I don't want anyone to be bored or tired with my presentation. So I'm going to go into the presentation by simply highlighting and reading what is up on the screen. So where the credit committee is concerned, it's a nominated committee where the members are elected at the annual general meeting. And as an officer, you can serve on 9 consecutive terms once re-elected. The credit committee consists of 5 members, and amongst themselves choose their chairman and secretary. The credit committee meets weekly in person to conduct the credit union's business of ratifying loans and reviewing letters from members seeking financial assistance to achieve their respective goals or objectives. Next slide. So the powers and the duties, there are four main powers and duties that comes out where the credit committee is concerned. The first one being the credit committee approved loans in accordance with the loan policy as determined by the board. So as stated earlier, when we ratify on a loan, all officers, we are not going on our personal opinion. What we do, we are guided by the policy of the credit union, and we look at the actual situation and the combination of both information. There we are able to state, yes, a loan can be approved, or we need further information to make that final decision. At credit committee meetings, close examinations is done on the character and financial position of borrowing of the respective member. This is also complemented with the endorsement of the member to honor their obligations via the benefit of the approval. So essentially, we need to examine and not just take it from one side, because with every application that is presented, there's always a backstory. And it's useful for the member to share with their loans officers. So when the credit committee sits and ratify on this particular loan, here we are positioned to say, look, the character that is supporting this financial information that we see presented, and not just look at it one-sided and be misguided, as the case could be, and state a non-approval of a loan. The committee shall determine the terms upon which loans shall be repaid with assistance of the senior loans officer and directors of the board. So once a loan is being approved, it must be approved under certain terms and conditions. And again, it's not a personal decision. It's a collective decision being made where the officers of the credit committee plays a role, the senior loans officer, as well as the directors of the board. So one thing I would want to say, of all the information that has been presented this morning, you will realize there's connectivity. None works without support of the other. And as this information flows, it builds teamwork, it builds camaraderie, and it helps in terms of understanding why at the end, here's what. When a loan is approved, we know why, and we can be guided. Loans can only be approved with the majority of members present at that committee meeting. So as mentioned, we need at least 5 to have that quorum to ratify loans. A loan cannot be approved with under 3 officers. So it means not just 2 can say yes and the loan is approved. At least 3 must state that we have agreed with terms, conditions, we endorse, and that loan can go forward as an approved loan. What do you need to join the committee? A passion. We have heard words like commitment. We have heard words like energy. And I'm going to use the word of passion. You should have a passion because here it is, you are volunteering. And correct, as Ms. Otley stated, you are not being paid a salary. You receive a stipend. So if you look at the monetary aspect of it, you will realize this is of no real interest. This is of no real effort that I need to pay any attention to. But with a passion, you will realize money is not the issue. The passion to assist others in achieving a better financial position, understanding things financially, being able to reposition yourself financially, understanding the importance of finances. These passions compiled will put you in a position to say, here's what, I have this drive, I'm motivated for, and I am willing to be a part of this. A willingness for you to gain knowledge and insight to meander oneself in these financial times. And one of the things that I personally always remember coming out of the pandemic, it highlighted so much where individuals' financial positions weren't where it's supposed to be. And now an opportunity is being presented whereby you can now inform, you can now guide, you can now assist. This is part of what the credit committee is able to present. So there's supposed to be that passion, that willingness to actually sit and ratify and work with your fellow officers to achieve some repositioning of one's financial position. Next slide. So in conclusion, in order to be a member, in order to want to, you need to ensure to oneself that self is no longer the priority. Others is the true benefactor that you are working towards. So in conclusion, being a member of the credit committee will actually assist you in getting to that stage, working, understanding finances, and helping people to be in a better place. Thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you so much. And so we are running a bit late, so we are going to dive directly into the question and answer segment. So of course, if you have any questions, you can place those in the chat and we can move directly into them. So we do have a few questions. So I will first direct this question to Mrs. Otley. Do you have to be elected to volunteer or to serve on the HR committee?
The HR committee is really a board-appointed committee. So that is with the board. Once you are already a member serving on one of those committees, those statutory committees, then is when you are elected by the board to serve.
So for all the other statutory board-appointed committees, do you have to be elected onto the statutory committees?
Yes, you have to be.
And are there any special educational background? This one would be for moving. Is there any special educational background required, like a background in finance, to serve on the credit committee?
The answer to that would not, it would be, I would start by saying, no, you don't need to have any real financial background to work on the credit committee. What you need to have is that understanding, a basic understanding about income and expenditure. The credit committee and the other officers on the credit committee together, we work in terms of understanding that character of the individual. And as time progresses, when you learn the loan products, you are able to marry both. So you're, in your decision-making, it positions you better. So you really need to be able to understand people, the character, what could be the possibilities, and complement said information with the guidelines, requirements of the respective loan products, and the combination of both. Yes, it helps you to be an effective credit committee member.
I do have another question for you. If a member was denied a loan, are they given an opportunity for redress by the credit committee?
Yes, they are given an opportunity for redress. They need to ensure that they put it in writing, what may have been left out, what additional information they see or deem as necessary to sense that re-evaluation of the loan. The credit committee will, in fact, look perhaps if an interview is necessary, and make the relevant recommendations going forward.
Thank you so much. I'll now hand you over to Ms. Shariba Ali Rajak, who will bring some closing remarks on behalf of the committee.
Hey, good morning. But it's still morning, 10 to 12. We were hoping to finish before 12. So I know by now some of you all may be hungry and tired, so I wouldn't take up too much of your time. I am convener of the nominating committee, and you would have heard about the role of the nominating committee through the several presentations. I wouldn't want to bore you with repeating what the presenters have to say, but firstly, let me thank you for choosing to participate in this session, and not only participating, but staying with us to the end. This demonstrates your interest in volunteering and serving in your credit union. I hope the presentations did not overwhelm you, but stimulated your interest to join and volunteer your service to your organization. And if you notice, in our annual brochure, you would see what is the purpose of TECU. And the purpose of TECU is to make each member's life the best it can be. And this is what TECU is about, improving the lives of its members. Of course, we have our vision, mission, and value statements, which you could run through when you have time, which is on our website. So, having heard from all the presenters, especially Lucy, you will understand that TECU places immense value on the dedication and commitment displayed by our voluntary workers. Based on our capable staff and volunteers, TECU has built a strong and sustainable financial institution. And all credit to TECU with respect to this, because we see how many financial organizations going through, or you would have seen on the newspapers about the problems faced by credit unions today. Fortunately, with the management of your board and staff, TECU has placed itself in a strong financial situation going forward. And this can be attributed, part of success, TECU's success today is attributed to the work carried out not only by its staff, but its volunteers. And if you get on board, you will see how many volunteers it takes to run TECU successfully. Volunteers assist in the running of many, many committees. In addition to the statutory committees, as mentioned, they also serve on several board-appointed committees. And that was mentioned, how to get onto board. Lucy just mentioned how to get on the board-appointed committees. Volunteers, as you know, they contribute their time, their skills, their knowledge and experience, all for better governance and improved decision-making, both in the interest of the organization and its members. In order to bring volunteers on board, TECU just don't throw you out in the open and expect you to know what to do. They provide training and support to introduce and guide you with respect to your respective roles. Following the session today, I am sure you have gained a wide insight into what is required from our volunteer officers. And not only that, with respect to the expanse of TECU's operations. And Ricardo would have mentioned all the operations, the locations, the insurance services, medical, etc. And especially with respect to the loans and shares, how TECU pay the insurance to cover your loans up to 150,000 and to double shares up to a certain amount. But while I just want to stress on something here, the survival of TECU is based on proper management. And Mervyn just talked about loans. And there is a great demand for loans because we know the situation with people losing their jobs. South has been, well, in a bad financial situation with the closing of Petrotrin, etc. But the credit committee, the loans officers, and by extension, the board, we have a attitude management function to make sure while we hear members please, we always also have to manage our delinquency, because you don't want to give loans and then have a high delinquency where you have to write out loans. So it's always that managing the loans officers, the credit committee have to work with. So while we may be sympathetic and review certain loans, we also have to be mindful that we manage the credit union business effectively. Now, in accordance with bylaw 50, TECU has appointed a nominating committee, which comprises 5 members. And our role really is to interview members who are interested in serving. So we screen, select, and recommend nominees to be considered for election to office. So in our annual brochure, we will have a report of all the people we recommend after passing the interview. Of course, we would have gotten in touch with them and they would most likely attend our annual general meeting. And then the members will vote as to get them onto the statutory committees, as the case may be. Advertisements are normally placed in the newspaper and radio following this volunteer session. So it should be later this month and into early December. So it will give members roughly 1 month to think about whether they want to serve, having heard what is required and what skills you have and how you could contribute to your organization. And I really want to say it is a members organization. It is not like the bank. You are a member, you are a shareholder in this organization, and I expect, you would like to contribute. So when the advertisements go out, we give you roughly a month to consider and to forward your application. Normally, we close applications around between the first or second week in January. And following that, then we will start an interview process. And at the end of the interview process, we present a report to the annual general meeting. Should you decide to submit an application, you will be required to complete an application package. Now, the application package will also be online. So if you're visiting our website, you will have access to it if you're a returning officer or a first-time applicant to the credit union. So we have different packages where you'll find that online. Once again, on behalf of all the presenters here today and TECU, we want to thank you for your interest in participating in this session and look forward to hearing from you in the future and hopefully joining TECU as a volunteer. We wish to encourage you to visit TECU's website to learn more about your credit union and how we can work together to strengthen and sustain this august institution to serve many generations in the future.